Hi everyone, welcome to Architecture in the Den. This is a podcast and a YouTube video where we talk to guests about architecture and running businesses. So do subscribe, like, share. And today I'd like to welcome Sue Butcher. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. My name's Sue Butcher and I used to run architects practices. I trained as an architect in the 80s and 90s and then spent 15 years running three different types of practices. But now I have a consultancy that mostly works with construction product manufacturers. But I've got a lot of experience in helping practices make more money and be more successful. So I think that's why you asked me on.
Absolutely. Well, we like to talk about as Pride Road, the franchise offer, we kind of help support our franchisees growing their business with marketing, business support, SEO, and it's so important. I know architects hugely underestimate how important marketing is.
Absolutely.
So these podcasts are there to help and share some of our knowledge and find out new things as well.
Excellent. Yeah, it should be more of it, really.
Yes. I mean, I think that there's various studies that are done by the RIBA talking about how much you should spend on marketing. What do the RIBA say? How much you should spend?
Well, when I was working in practice, when they did their benchmarking exercise, I'm not sure, I think they still do it. They used to say that you should spend 15% of your turnover on marketing. And a lot of people will think about that and go, God, that's a lot of my income. But it's not your income, it's your turnover. In my experience, very few practices, particularly smaller practices, don't tend to spend that much money. And of course, you also need to allocate your own time, which means, not spending all your time on fee earning as well. And of course, you can reduce the amount of money you spend if you need to spend money by spending more time yourself, but you do actually have to do the work because you need to explain to people what it is about you that makes you different. And I think that's something that architects often find quite difficult to do, is to differentiate themselves from others in the marketplace. And that's and actually, I've worked for probably 5 or 6 different firms in my career, and they were all very different. Some of them were heavily commercial, some of them were very focused on historic buildings or religious buildings. Some of them had a very particular niche, but they still had competitors. It was just a different group of competitors. So it's always important to think about where you are in that market and how you can make yourself be different and offer what your audience are looking for, really.
And that's right. I mean, at Pride Road, we've really niched down and we just do domestic residential work. So that's single story, 2-story extensions. So I say no to a lot of clients, or potential clients. So, if last week I had someone wanting to build, for me to look at a plot and put a little house on it. That's a no from me. And a change of use from a shop to a flat or something, again, a no from me. At first, when you first set out, it's quite hard to turn work away.
Yes.
But what I've realized is that by niching down, you're just really focusing your strengths in one area, and you're not having to reinvent the wheel. So your sector inside and out, which helps when you're talking to clients.
Absolutely, because it means those clients are the clients you really understand. They're the ones that like you. They're the ones that you and they are both getting something out of it. And then, of course, that can influence all my approach to working out who those people to say yes to and no to is all about working out who those key clients are. Out of the people that you already work with, who are the people that are making you money? Who are the people that you shouldn't be working for, and how do you decide that is very important. And of course, then you've got, once you've done the exercise, you can understand how to talk about yourself wherever you're doing that, whether you're when you're meeting someone, or in any sort of marketing work you do, whether it's advertising or putting a listing in a directory or posting on social media or blogging, whatever you're doing, it'll tell you what you should be writing about because you understand your audience.
Sorry, I just had a guest appearance in the background.
That was funny.
I did mute, so a bit of a delay on that one. So it takes us back to the topic of the conversation, which is about knowing your clients.
Yes.
And I think you've sent me a rather lovely diagram, which
yes, that's sort of stage 2. Before you can use that diagram, there's a first stage. So there are 3 stages altogether. But the first stage is, who are they? So how do you decide, who are your clients, if you like, and get a handle on who you're working for now. And I recommend that everybody in the audience who knows these people gets together in a room, if there's more than one of you, or if there are a couple of you, or if there are 10 of you, doesn't matter, everybody in the room, because they all know people. And it's also, if you've got an associate, it's a fantastic bit of CPD for them to learn a bit more about the business.
So you're saying get all your clients in a room together? No,
get the people that you're working with. So your staff, if you have any. So if you've got an assistant, or if you're in a partnership, or if you've got other employees, or if you've got a receptionist or whoever, because they'll all get something out of it. And then what you do is if you've got a big piece of paper or a whiteboard, and of course you can do this online, using online tools, list out all the clients you've worked with over the last 2 or 3 years by name. Often with your type of clients, they're going to be individuals, but they're individuals even if it's a big organization, because people buy from people. And then against every client you've worked with over the last 2 or 3 years, you write what type of client they are. So are they an individual, are they a homeowner, are they a small developer, or do they own a business, what projects you've done for them, which will remind you who they are, and what proportion of your fee income they were responsible for in the last 2 or 3 years. And so that gives you
your overall of the company,
of your overall turnover. Yeah. So because sometimes you'll have a big client that you do lots of work with regularly, and then you have one-offs, and you'll have little jobs, and you need to, and the amount of money you make out of those people is an important factor. And when you've got that list, then we start using the diagram.
Right. Okay. So I think I remember doing a list like that. Isn't that like you find out the Pareto law, where it's 80% of your work comes from 20% of your clients?
Yes, absolutely. There are all sorts of operations you can do on it, and quite often you'll find that over the last 2 or 3 years you've spent an awful lot of time working for somebody and they've paid you a lot of money, but there are other people, and you needn't forget those, because they may be people that you ought to be building up your work with, given how circumstances are changing, or that you've done a particular sort of work with that you really enjoyed doing, or you were really good at, and you think you can do more of. So the idea is to pick them all, and then we set some priorities after that by looking at these different factors together. And the idea of which is it comes from a chap called Bud Cadell. It's called How to Be Happy in Business, and I think it's good because we should all be happy doing the work that we want to do. And it's a 3-circle Venn diagram. So it's got 3 circles. You're going to put it up on the screen as well, but essentially you've got a circle at the top, and that's inside that circle it says what we do well. So that's the stuff we do well. And then on the left-hand side at the bottom, you've got what we want to do. And then on the right-hand side, you've got what we can be paid to do. And I would add what we can make profit out of course. And each of your clients fits somewhere in this Venn diagram. Okay. And there won't be very many that don't fit in only fit in 1 circle. They'll probably fit in 2, and hopefully some of them will fit in all 3. So that if you think about the 2 circles overlapping, so if we overlap think about the clients that we work well with and we want to work with, but we can't make money out of them. That's the first overlap. With those people, you have to think about how you could monetize that work. Can you profit from it? What could you do? And then you've got the overlap between the people we work well with, and we also get paid well for it, but we don't want to work for them. And there will be people like that, you know, they're time wasters, they make us stress, they're, you know, tire kickers, like the Americans say. Now, if you don't want to work with someone, you have to learn how to say to prospects like that, no, thank you, next time, in a polite way, like you were saying about saying no. And then the third overlap is the people we want to work for and we make money out of it, but we don't do that very well. We're not very good at it yet. So with those people, we can focus on learning how to do that sort of work better, and then we'll be able to do more of it because it will be more efficient and therefore more profitable. And so you've got those three circles overlapping, and in the middle is your sweet spot where all the circles intersect. And those are the clients that you like working for, that you work for well, and they also pay you well. And the people that are in that intersecting circle, those are the people that we want to get more work from now because they fit all three criteria. So just to summarize, then you've got four types of clients. The ones you need to monetize because you don't get enough money out of it if you want to, the ones you need to say no to, the ones you need to learn how to work with better, and then the ones that you want to do more work with because they fit all three criteria, and those are the target clients. And once you've done that diagram and you've put all your clients in that diagram, if you like, then you can do a SWOT analysis, because now you understand your clients, your audience. You can look at those clients and talk about what are the strengths of their future work. So what are they good at? What are the weaknesses of working for them? What are the opportunities coming up in the future? Really important. And of course, what are the threats to focusing more of your business on them? It's always a good idea to do that. So that's how the diagram works. And then once you've got those ideal clients, and they're all people that you know, you can then think about those particular people and create what we call target personas. And a persona is a generic description of a type of person. It's commonly used in marketing. And what we're doing is we're saying every actual client who is our ideal target, we want to make an A4 sheet which completely summarizes who they are, why we work for them, what we give them, and so on. And the way I do this usually is I have a little questionnaire that asks a few questions. So the questions are, well, first of all, you're going to want to put a catchy title at the top, which might be, you know, John the small developer, or Jane the housewife, anonymized, obviously. But if you can use the name of the person you actually work for, that helps you remember who you're talking about. And then you can put a bit of personal information at the top. So what do they do for a living? Where are they located? Is that where you want to look for clients in that area? Do they have, is there someone else they need to report to? So, you know, do they make the financial decision? Is there someone else who needs to be involved? And then any personal details which will help you remember, you know, are they more concerned about aesthetics and function? Are they sporty? Do they love horse racing? You know, have they got special needs like disability? So that's the personal information. And then you ask yourself some questions. So firstly, you talk about the challenges. So what are the challenges for these people? And the great friend of mine, the late Richard White, used to say, if you can take someone's pain away, then that's much easier to do than to give them something that they want, because it's, you know, pain's a more immediate concern. So
is this talking about their pain points?
Yes, their primary frustration. So what do they really care about? What's getting on their wick? And you can be really honest, because this is just for you, about what that really is. So it could be that they never have enough time to make decisions. They have a problem with getting planning consent. and they've spent 3 years getting planning consent, or their house is too small, or they've got high maintenance costs, or whatever. And so you've got their pains, and you try and think of 2 or 3 if you can. And then on a positive side of their challenges, what are they trying to achieve? So that might be, they might want to make or save money, they might want to make or save space, they might want to impress their mother-in-law. You know, there are all sorts of reasons why people have projects. And again, think of 2 or 3, and then you identify what that person that you know, who you work for at the moment or you have done recently, what their thing was. And then of course you can then ask yourself how you take the pain away. So that's called how we can help. So what do you do that helps them? And I always ask the question, because it's about information, what do we know that they don't know and they want to know? Because that's what they'll Google. Okay.
So say that again. What do we
know
yeah.
that they don't know
Yeah.
and they want to know? And it might be how to get planning permission, or how to fit 6 children into a 3-bedroom house, you know, whatever it is, that's something they want to know, and you can take that pain away. You can solve that question, answer that question for them. And that's just the sort of thing that they will Google. So you can brainstorm ideas about how you helped that person and what it is that you did that took that pain away. And you can also ask yourself, where would they go for trusted information? And that might be, how did they find out about you? And what do they read? You know, and all that sort of thing. Sometimes it will just be, oh, they Googled, or I don't know, because I never asked them. Well, ask them, because it's worth knowing. And the other thing it will do is it help understand who advocates for your business are, because it might be their estate agent, it might be their solicitor, it might be a business networking group.
So we call those key referral partners.
Yes, that's right. And of course, you need to think about those advocates, because they're the people that you need to build very good relationships with, because they're repeat business, aren't they? Even though they don't actually pay you themselves, they're the people who give you repeat business. And then you've got, essentially, you've got an A4 sheet of paper, one for each of your key personas, your ideal clients. And you can use that information in all sorts of ways. You can use it to find more of those types of clients. You can ask yourself, how could I get another client like that? You can use it to think about, what should I be writing about on my website? What sort of language should I be using for that audience? What sort of images, you know, what images would inspire that person, or are there images that have people like that in them? What information could you publish that would help that person and move them along the decision funnel, if you like, towards contacting you? And also, of course, it will help you decide what sort of place you should be advertising, what sort of interviews should you be doing, what sort of case studies should you publish, all that content and opportunity based on your, now you've got a good strong understanding of which clients you're focusing on. And they can also therefore inform your entire marketing strategy, your strategy for lead generation, your content strategy, and a social media strategy. It all comes out of understanding that audience.
Whew, that's a lot of information.
I should write a blog post about it, actually.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've called those key personas avatars.
Yes.
Make avatars out of them. I mean, for me, in our sector, in the residential domestic, there'll just be different demographics of homeowner. So yes, whether it's a first-time buyer or sort of couple with kids, or empty nesters, or dinkies, or whatever. Yes, we've got those. And, you know, as you say, we try and market towards them. So you can write, I mean, I think you could also write a client feedback. If you've got some clients that are happy to talk to you, you could take these personas to them and ask them to, and get them to help fill them out for you.
Absolutely, yeah, and I've done that. I've done that with the workplace consultant I worked with once, who was trying to decide how to market his business in a sort of unique way. And it was really interesting because he hadn't realized that he had 3 or 4 different types of people he was going for, and he needed to make sure that each one of those people had a journey to coming to contact him. The people who didn't know him, that were just like that, and actually by doing that exercise it can help. And of course the other thing that it does, if you're thinking about, you know, the crisis that's in the position at the moment, it makes you think about things like, what are those people thinking about right now, and what am I wasting my time on? Because in 6 months' time or a year's time, it's likely to be different. So it gives you a much more strategic view. And I've used it in my own business because when I first set up my consultancy, I did a lot of work for individual professional people, helping them network online and things like that, teaching them digital and social media. But I realized that actually I wasn't making enough money out of that particular audience. And there was another audience who were interested already, which was product manufacturers, and they could pay better, and they had other things to offer. And I really enjoyed a bit of the work that I did. So I pivoted my business, and most of my work is now for manufacturers. Well, it has been for last 5 years or so, and it's moved again since. So it's a sort of gradual, you can do this every couple of years, and or even quicker, and learn and realize that you've actually changed your views about these things, and the situation has changed.
Yeah, so at Pride Road, it's something that we do, and then we reflect our messaging back to those clients, and we've got autoresponders that takes clients on a client journey through our pipeline to help, you know, sort of like push them along the pipeline to turn them into a clients. So what do they someone needs to hear about a product 17 times before they think about that particular brand in relation to their need that they have. That was a figure that I must have heard about 10, 20 years ago. I think those numbers have gone right up. I think clients need to have so much more brand awareness before they choose to buy from you.
Yes, they need to be very confident, and it's often the case. I mean, it is the case with us, and I know, having trained in architecture and worked with architects, that we tend to be a little bit reticent about talking to strangers, and that first step of making actual contact is quite a difficult one. So before people do that, they check you out. You know, they Google and they look you up, they talk to their friends, they ask them for recommendations, and of course the more people know about you, all of those touch points give them more confidence. And then at some point, and that's why I love the internet, because it allows people to have that experience, and to do that 24 hours a day. You know, anything that you're publishing, they get to see that anytime they like. It's there all the time, whenever they want to, and then they come to you. So it's pull marketing, they call it, rather than push marketing or interruption marketing. They'll come to you because they expect you to be, you know, what you are online. And when I first started teaching people about social media, there are a lot of people, because this was 10 years ago, who would say, oh, I'm a social media consultant, and people would ask them, well, so what sort of social media do you do? And they say, oh, do everything. And I said, I only work in the construction industry because that's what I know about. And in no time at all, I was the person who worked in social media in the construction industry and had an architectural background, and I was probably the only person in the UK who was doing that. And I got a lot of business out of those two things going together, you know, that a construction specialist with an architectural background, she must know what she's talking about. And of course everybody has those niches, they have that specialism, and it's just a question of, if once you start talking to your clients, you realize what they value, then you can start talking about that too.
What I found, a lot of our clients seem to find us on Facebook, and it's not people going in Facebook groups. So it's not people going into groups asking questions, you know, does anyone know an architect, and getting lots of people referring, which we do anyway, but it's actually people then use Facebook to scan back through which architects have been referred within the group.
Because it's still there, isn't it? It's
yes,
sticky.
It's very sticky, very sticky. So so that's cool. So what sorts of stuff are you doing at the moment?
Well, I'm apart from the work with manufacturers, and I have several manufacturer clients, I'm also running 2 projects that are to do with digital construction post Grenfell, because of the digital element. One is for manufacturers. So manufacturers are, as you'll probably know, their management of data tends to be very analog and not very linked up. So, so getting a sample out of manufacturers' website is a nightmare. And part of the reason for this is that they're not really digitized in their businesses, and their marketing isn't really digitized. So I'm working with the IET, which is an enormous international engineering trade association, professional association, to write a plain language guide for them about digitization, which is, you know, that's at one end of the construction cycle. And at the other end, I'm working with the National Housing Federation on something called BIM for housing associations, which is about taking the concept of BIM and explaining to housing associations who are asset managers, and you know, they are the golden boys of BIM, because they're the people who need the information in the end, and that's where the value really comes out, how to organize their assets in a proper way according to the ISOs and the national BIM, can't remember what it's called. The standards with the new ISOs and everything, and explaining that in their language, which again is very different. So, and I'm project managing both of those projects, which is yeah, a lot of fun, challenging, but really valuable work.
Sounds it. So just coming back to the question, know your clients. So what's your one piece of, I know you've given lots and lots of suggestions tonight. What's your top tip about knowing your client?
Well, I think talk to your clients and find out what they get out of what you do. So ask them, why did you use me? What did you get out of it? What can I do better? Because they're, you know, it's not so much a review on Google, it's learning from their experience to help you do better. And don't be afraid to look back at what you've done and what's been successful, because then you can focus on what has.
That's brilliant. Well, thanks very much, Sue Butcher, for joining us. And
it's my pleasure.
Please, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please like, subscribe, download, whatever you do on YouTube and Spotify, and please share it as well. So thanks very much and good night.